Looks like folks are still joining, but we will get started in a few minutes, probably like 1 minute.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. I know folks are still coming in, but thank you everyone so much for joining us on a Tuesday evening. And today we kick off International Women's Month, and the anticipation now begins to build until Norooz, or Persian New Year. We recognize that this is a difficult time for so many of us and our communities, from Ukraine to Iran. And amidst the chaos and pain, it's often, if not difficult, if not impossible, for us to take a moment to pause, reflect, and rejoice. Several of us Iranian-American women from the New York City chapter of the National Iranian-American Council, or NIAC, came together to plan this event, celebrating just a few Iranian-American women of several who have started and grown their own businesses in New York City, garnering widespread acclaim. These women have put Iran on the map, on our plates, and on our greeting cards, bringing their identities and stories into the work and the arts that they truly do. They've made me proud to be Iranian, especially in New York City, and we're just so grateful and honored to have them here with us tonight. I'll now turn it over to Patisa, the head of our New York chapter, to briefly introduce NIAC.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining. It's so exciting to see all of you with us today. I am Parisa Babali. I'm the captain of the New York chapter, and I just want to give you a brief introduction of NIAC. NIAC stands for the National Iranian-American Council, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. It's a nonpartisan, non-profit organization. It's a grassroots organization which was founded in 2002 to give voice to the Iranian-American community. And as one of the most educated minority groups in the United States, we've achieved success on many levels: technology, scientific, academic, in terms of economic life, small businesses, and our contributions to American civic life has been reasonably limited. So within NIAC, and especially within the New York chapter, which is one of our biggest chapters, what we would like to do is to bring everyone together and have a chance to celebrate the Iranian Americans' contribution and success and what we have to offer to our community, and get together and work together, especially on our events that have that we've been organizing. If you're interested in joining us, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to have you be a part of our bigger community. We are planning, hopefully after COVID, to continue our happy hours, join a soccer team if we can get together, all be present in the same place, and a couple of other events that I'm personally excited for. But especially with this event, I'm so excited that we are going to kick off International Women's Month, Norooz celebration, and especially the rise of women in business. And as Zahra said, we would love to recognize what Iranian-American women have achieved in the US in the last few years. So with that, I'm going to introduce Zahra, and Masoumeh Mohammad Khani, who are going to be introducing our panelists and speaking to them, asking them questions. So the way this session is laid out is we're going to have about 30 minutes of Q&A with our panelists. And then the last 15 minutes of the call will be questions that are coming from you guys. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat. We also have some questions that we have collected through the RSVP and through other ways of communicating with you guys. So with this, I'm going to pass this on to Mas to introduce our panelists. And again, thank you so much and welcome.
Everyone, thanks. I'm super excited to introduce everyone. So I'm going to start off with Zahra. Zahra Tabatabaei is the owner, founder of Back Home Beer in Brooklyn, New York. Her interest in the craft was inspired by stories from her grandfather, a lovely man who brewed beer and made wine in his backyard in Shiraz, Iran. She decided to take on a whim classes at her local home brew shop, read books, and watch videos on the art of beer making. During that process, she decided to dig deeper into the history of beer making in Iran and discovering, to her surprise, that the earliest physical trace of beer dates back to the present day Iran, and yet there was no representation of this on the market. That's why Zahra decided to start Back Home Beer, a first generation and women-owned beer company in Brooklyn, New York. After a few years of tinkering and brave family and friends testing her recipes, Zahra was excited to share some of her beer with the community. Using ingredients like Persian blue salt, barberries, sour cherries, sumac, sun-dried black limes, Zahra is focused on sharing a little bit of back home life. She earned her degree in business at the Georgia Institute of Technology in Atlanta, Georgia. And prior to founding Back Home Beer, Zahra worked as a news writer in both television and print. She has lived in New York City for 16 years and currently resides in Brooklyn with her partner and their son, Milo. You can follow Back Home Beer on Twitter and Instagram at Back Home Beer. So welcome, Zahra. The second woman I'd be introducing is Hedya Yusefi. She is an Iranian-American entrepreneur who founded Salam Forever in 2019 with the goal of making Iranian culture accessible and approachable to people everywhere. Salam Forever was created as a celebration of life's personal moments expressed with a unique Persian flair. Everyday occasions, traditional holidays, and cherished customs have become the backdrop for people sharing their culture and feelings with one another. Hedieh moved to New York City from Tehran several years ago, and it didn't take long to understand how underrepresented Iranian culture is outside of Iran. Her years of experience and training as a fine artist and graphic designer inspired her to create a meaningful solution. When she launched her first line of greeting cards featuring the art of Persian illustrators from around the world, the response was overwhelmingly enthusiastic. People clearly have a real thirst for Persia. Hedieh continues to explore inventive ways to bring Persian culture to people everywhere with an expanding line of products designed to help people share their joy. So welcome, Hedieh. And last but not least, we have Chef Nasrin Rejali. She can't remember life before cooking. For her, cooking is an expression of love. In her family's kitchen in Tehran, she faithfully absorbed secret recipes and delicate skills from her grandmother and mother. By the time she was 15, she would make her own jams and pickles. Later on, she ran a little cafe in the city serving traditional foods such as the rich eggplant dips and saucy meatballs filled with hard-boiled egg and apricot, but also desserts with hot herbal teas. In 2014, she had to leave Iran with her 3 little children, never to return again. They immigrated first to Turkey, where they stayed for 2 years, and then in the fall of 2016, made their journey to New York and started over. After a rough arrival period, living in a shelter and looking for work, Nasrin was offered the opportunity to work at Eat Offbeat, a catering kitchen that employs refugees from all over the world to create a global cuisine for their clients. Though her English was sparse at first, she and her fellow cooks spoke the language of cooking. With each dish, they shared with one another the knowledge and stories of their disparate cultures and traditions. So welcome, Chef Nasrin. And now we will begin our Q&A. Are you ready, Sarah? Awesome.
Great. Okay. I'll kick it off. Would love to hear from all 3 of you in this first question. Why and how did you decide to start your own business? So I'll kick it off to you, Zahra, if okay.
So for me, it really started out as a hobby, and I was making beer really just to share with my friends, my family, and be able to kind of give them a taste that was familiar to them from back home pre-revolution when my grandfather was brewing beer. So it started out kind of having them test recipes, give me feedback, and then me kind of moving things around, sending bottles to my grandmother, things like that, until I got it right. And it was more just kind of something that I did on my free time. And I was full-time news writing. And it developed into something I think a bit more meaningful to me after I did a bit more research about the region in general and the history of brewing within the Middle East. The history of fermentation goes back thousands of years. And as Masma mentioned, the earliest evidence of beer brewing was actually found in what is now modern day Iran. And so to know all of that information, but to not see any of that represented in the market, I think there's obviously a disconnect there. And so I thought to bring the beer to market and fill that void, and also provide people a bit of nostalgia for Iran when there were breweries and when there were distilleries and vineyards, because a lot of people, what they associate with the country now is what it is today, and they don't realize the history of brewing in the region. And so I think it was a lot of different reasons that brought me to this point, but that was really the main focus for me, was to educate people about Iran, the region in general, and to represent the Middle East with beer.
Thank you, Zahra. Hedieh?
Yeah, actually, when I moved to US like 8 years ago, I always loved to write a letter to my family in Iran. And I want to have something in the card or greeting card. I was searching a lot, finding something be between like Eastern and Western culture. I never find anything like I can write on that. I started making my greeting cards, writing there and sending back to my home, you know. And when they received the card, they got very happy. And, you know, they were like, oh, this is great. You have like between culture. That's very interesting. And then it gave me an idea of how can I grow this. And I started, you know, send this card to my friends and colleagues here. And they love it. After a while, you know, first when you start, when you immigrant, you start the things is very hard there. You find the right job, you know, you grow here, you build your life here. It took a while. It took like 4 or 5 years until I established a little bit here in New York. And then I decided open Salam forever, which is like bring the Persian flair. That was very important for me. People in New York, especially first, see our culture is with so many, you know, designs, Persian flair. It's fun. It's not something just serious. People have different vision. When you say Iran, they're like, Iran, you know, do you know, guys, about art and these things? I want to have a voice on greeting cards to, you know, present something different. So first, when I started, that was just me. I do the design of the a lot of greeting cards with different flares. And then when the people asking me, can you design this or not, I couldn't actually, because it wasn't the things they were asking for. I started to working with different artists around the world, Australia, Philippines, Malaysia, Iranian in Canada, and other places. And yeah, right now we are more than 10 different designers. All of the arts actually for Salam Forever. We have every week meeting. We are talking about different subjects, how can bring Eastern and Western culture together, how can bring the new ideas. And it's fascinating to me because you see so many people, we get the email from them, how they love the card, and then how they want different designs. And it's amazing. It's fun. It's great to see people responded, and they're very supportive. And yeah, it has a lot of up and down, but it makes me happy, really. I see how people respond to this.
Hedieh and Nasrin.
Hi, everyone. To be honest, when I coming to United States, life is so serious for me because I have kids and everything is so hard. I start working, and when I start to work, I see is America already have an opportunity for everyone who coming to United States and want to become true all the dream. And when I go to anywhere for event for the I remember I have a festival food for refugee, and I go there, and everyone when I see is life in America is so serious. Everyone don't have any fun, don't have even go to the party, everyone in mobile and talking about business, and no one like Iran. I see a lot of people have a problem, but when you have a party, when join to each other, they laughing, they take it good time and make it energy for next level, for next time. And I think about is very good. Should I have a one tea house and people coming and enjoy from the food. And when I working at the restaurant, and anywhere in New York City, just people knows about Iranian food is kebab, is a lot of kebab. And what Iran have a lot of food is so yummy, and we can talking about that. And I start working with Itafit, and I have some menu with Itafit until during the COVID. I stay home and I start to working more about my business. And some people help to me to start and push me, Nasrin, you should be a start this business and you can do everything. And I said, no, it's not easy because I don't have enough money for that. And my friend tell me, Nasrin, if you want to start, you should be a start. Everything become better. And until now, I can do everything and more happy because I see a lot of people give me a lot of love. And I cannot believe that this happened to my job and my business.
We really do give you and your food a lot of love, but thank you all for sharing your stories about how you started your businesses. And now a question that I'll let you all, whoever wants to answer first, I won't call out. How did your identity as a woman, as an Iranian or Iranian-American, as an immigrant shape the ideation and design for your business?
I can speak to that. I think for my business, it's pretty obvious how it shaped the design. I mean, I used an Iranian woman to design the cans and the labels. That was really important for me. The first designer I used, she was actually in Tehran, and I gave her a lot of freedom to do what she wanted to do in the design, and I really trusted her. And I wanted to make sure that it was kind of a blend of East and West, a bit modern, but I definitely wanted the language on the cans and I wanted people to associate it with the country. It was very important for me. And so for me, I would say it's definitely a big part of the whole branding and the whole marketing of the business. And then even we have a beer coming out in about a week or so. And I used another designer, a young female Iranian woman who's in DC. And again, just told her, work your magic. And I trusted her. And she put together a really beautiful can that really represents women and Iran and also Norooz. It's like a mix of everything this month. So I'm really excited for that one too. But it was important for me that people, when they see the beer, they associate it immediately with not only Iran, but maybe the entire region of the Middle East. And so that really comes through in the can design.
Yeah, I can add also something. I think one of the reason Salam Forever cards is very different, and the cards are very unique and has very special flair of the Iranian, because 9 of our designers are women and 9 from 10. So, and I think each of them has different voice, and they try to present Western and Eastern culture very differently. Even each of them are different place on the board, but I think they have a very strong voice. At the same time, they can bring the very unique creation to the art. I think their vision is very different, and I respect that a lot. And I think one of the reasons we are growing last 2 years a lot, because all of these are women support each other so much.
One of the lady lady who helped me. She's from France, and her name is Anna Polanski, and she doing all the design for me. She did all the design for me, and she show me everything. I think, and I would love to show everyone in America what is Iran, all the city, all the people who live Iran and who um, doing everything for survive in their life, especially women. And when I want to do something like pop-up dinner, like celebration, Norooz, I write about. My English is not that much perfect, but always Zahra Jun helped me for translate my note, and I doing something for Norooz, for everything, and write for the people what all the people in Iran do for the Norooz and for the everything. And I want, most of the things is important for me is show all the culture from Iran. I know it's Turkish, I know it's some Middle East, but I don't know. I think everyone knows about the anywhere in Middle East, but not that much like Iran, because everyone just think Iran is not good. Iran not. No one tell me like that. I can say, because when I said I am from Iran, they said, "Oh, Iran," but Iran is not danger, and that's make me so crazy. It's not. I know have a problem, but not danger. And I want to show people, no, Iran is so beautiful, beautiful than you think about that. And I write about everything that I can do, but Anna very help me. Also, Zahra Jun is very help me to doing everything I want. That is, I did until now.
Wow, thank you all. Those were all such lovely answers about how your identities were part of the whole journey that you've had so far. We think that that's super important, and we're glad that we were able to highlight that. So my question for you, and this is, it could be a tough question, but what were some of the biggest roadblocks and challenges that you faced when you were creating your business? Because there were definitely difficulties, and we would love to know what they were and, how you faced them. And also feel free to speak if you want to. I won't pick, but just giving you the liberty of choice.
I can jump in. So for me, starting a business, I just launched in October. So it's only been, maybe 4 or 5 months. And I started doing my licensing and everything like that during COVID, which, to go through the liquor authority, I think that was one of the hardest things, was just everything that they required. And it felt very overwhelming to have to do all this paperwork. And then things got, took a bit longer because of the pandemic. And then really having to just hold off on launching, because restaurants and bars, which would be my 2 clients, they were really struggling. So I think I had to hold off for a pretty long time. And then also, once I did launch, I have to rely on somebody else's facility. I basically rent tank space from an existing brewery. And so I'm not able to make my own schedule. I have to beg to get on their schedule when they have a free tank. And so I think that is definitely the hardest part, is not being able to say, all right, I need to brew these 3 beers and I need to do it this week. I have to go and make sure that they actually have the space for it. And so that does cause a bit of inventory issues, like things run out and it's kind of out of my control. So I think that's definitely the hardest part about it for me. I mean, it's very specific to my business, but I think just having to rely on a production facility to fulfill these orders versus having my own space to do that.
I also can add something. One of the biggest problem I had when I started my business was, still I do have it, that problem. I have a full-time job. I work as a company in Positive Brand. I am a creative director, and it's hard to manage the 2 business because I need money to support Salam forever, and I have to have for prints, full filming, packaging, sending, all of those. It got much better. I'm very grateful for that, but it's hard to manage 2 businesses at the same time. I have full-time job, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then after it finished, I have to work on the Salam forever. And it's very important for me doing the right things, sending the post on the social media, having the story, and at the same time presenting the right things about our culture is very important. I try to do the writing the English. A lot of messages a lot of people here speaking Farsi still in the US, and they ask me, can you translate the things you write? So recently, as much as I can, I try to do English and Farsi. All of these takes a lot of times, and a lot of time I'm awake until 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and then get to work, and 8 a.m. But I think it's definitely worth it. And I think the energy people send me, it makes me keep going. It's amazing. I love it. And I think that's the reason it keep me, motivating. Yeah.
Nasrin, I think you're on mute.
Is a lot of things in my job is challenge, but a lot of people give me a lot of love. Hedieh, Zahra, everyone around me is give me energy, give me something. You should be keep going. A lot of people not from Iran, from French, from the Italian people, and I cannot tell you when I disappointed. No, I should be find another job, and two job can help me more. But no, especially it of it. And when I talking with the Manal, and Manal tell me, Nasrin, what happened? I said, no, I don't have a lot of customers because I cannot marketing good before. Now, until now, I learn more, but is always have a problem. You should be cooking. You should be talking as an email with customers. You should be doing in the Instagram, social media, sometimes Facebook, and sometimes why I cannot write something, and this is big challenge. But I am so lucky have a very, very lovely people around me and always help me, and never I think I am alone. And this is very good point for my business, because when I start my business, just I have a $200. And when I talking with some people who my friend tell me, you are crazy. You after 2 months say, no, I want to start for work, but this is not good. But now we go to 2 years, and never I say I want to stop, because I want to grow up. I want to learn. It's not easy, really is not easy, but when you have a dream, you should be work on it and never give up.
All of your stories about overcoming challenges is super inspiring. And now I know that even on my day-to-day, when I have challenges, I can definitely push through it, especially with love and support and motivation. So thank you for being inspirational. Once again, I have another question for you, because I'm full of questions. If you could go back, is there anything you would change about how you went about your business, or something you're like, thinking of now, and you're like, oh, if I could go back to my younger self of like 5 months ago or however long ago, and be like, by the way, this is your future self, and this is what I think you should do, what would that thing be? Is there anything like that? Please let us know. We would love to hear your story about that.
Yeah, I think I can answer that. If I go back, I probably start earlier. I think that was a mistake. I waited for a long time, and I afraid to show the things. And I was worried my English isn't enough. I was worried my social media is not perfect. I didn't have enough money. I cannot say the things I want to say. Do I get in the trouble? People laugh at me. It's not enough. It's not right. So I think that was a huge mistake. Huge. I mean, it kept me last 4 years of my life, I can say. So yeah, if I go back, I started earlier.
I want to add to that. That was exactly what I was about to say, was that for years I was thinking about all the reasons that this would not work. It was just like same kind of doubts that people are going to say, what is an Iranian beer? That doesn't make sense. And beer is American. And what does this woman think she's doing? And It was so many reasons why this would never work, and that people would just laugh at me, that I would completely fail. And so it was at least for 3 or 4 years that I could have started this earlier. And I really wish that I had. I mean, I'm glad that I'm here now, but I think that was the biggest regret, was that I could have done this earlier than I did. And so for anyone who's watching this right now, I would definitely say stop doubting yourself and thinking of all the things that can go wrong. And another thing that I would always do is I would think about a million things that I had to do to kind of succeed, and instead of just taking it kind of one step at a time, and then I would become overwhelmed. So I think that was the same thing as what Hedieh just said. Very similar, is that I just wish that I had done this sooner.
And if I want to say about my business, I think is no. I think is the good time, because that's business and show a lot of things to me. I have a lot of experience. If I 1 year before I see everything, no, I think work at the top feed and Tabatabaei and so much company, restaurant show me what should we do for, because when you want to, like I want to give example, like some food from Iran. The people from here don't understand about that, like fasenjan. If it's too much oily, you cannot understand, and you cannot explain to people, this is oil from walnut, or this one. But when I'm working as a chef to catering company or another restaurant, I understand how can adapt this food to don't get taste bad, and all the recipe, you keep all the recipe. And is more important. When I start my business, as I see a lot of people, and I think good time for me is very good time, and I am very thanks God for everything give to me.
Thank you all for sharing. Good to know that, having that experience, but also, not doubting yourself, are both simultaneously important. And I really, really appreciate you all being very open about, your thoughts retrospectively. There's one other question. I'm going to keep going. There's often this misconception that women have to make huge sacrifices to be able to balance their personal life and have a professional life at the same time. How did starting a business change your life? Not just in maybe a way that you didn't expect, but also for the better?
I can start. I would say that it definitely changed my life, and I did have to find a better balance. I mean, I went from doing freelance work to having a full-time job, and so that certainly affected my family life. I have an 8, almost 9-year-old, and so I went from being able to take him to school every day and pick him up every day, to kind of scrambling to get there, having to send a babysitter or doing after school and things like that, which, to be honest, I did feel really guilty about for a long time. But I do think that it's showing him a different side of his mom. And so I bring him now for deliveries, and he does appreciate what I'm doing. So it's really, I wouldn't say that like I'm having to sacrifice anything. I think things are just a little bit different now. And I do think that there are some positives there. And he is kind of along for the ride and watching his mom build a business and work really hard, and maybe not be able to pick him up from school, but when I do get there, he's really appreciative. So I think it's more about finding the balance versus sacrificing, and that there are ways to make it work. It might be different, but I think that that's not necessarily a bad thing. So for us, it's working, and he appreciates that I'm working and that I might not always be there, but he's learning a lot throughout the process, just like I am.
Yeah, I can add also something to that. I definitely agree with Zahra. I think it's all about finding balance, and it's kind of like you learn when you go. I didn't know how gonna end up in my life, like you already have a full-time job, you start another business, and you have to take care of your things in your life with your partner, and then when you have a guest from Iran or another place want to live for a couple of months, a lot of things is coming to you. But it's kind of, you learn how you have to respond. You explain, you talk to people, you say, this is my situation, let's do the teamwork. And I think the main things was very important for me. I learned from it. If you stay positive, if you say the positive things in your house, and if you keep it, and other people living with you, it join in your road. They said, oh, that's great. Okay, we are going, like, make a plan for like next 2 months. He said, this is our plan. We are going to do that. And let's help each other. I think whoever you're living with and your family kind of part of your road, and said, okay, let's do it. And then it's not always perfect. A lot of things happen. A lot of things doesn't go like you plan for. Challenges come, right? But I think the main things, you make it balanced. You all the time have to talk. You have to share the things. You have to share your problem. What's your problem? And it kind of solve, and it make it balanced. You just have to be open about it. Yeah.
I want to add, Hedieh, something. Is right. It should be balance everything, but is not easy. It's really sometimes it's very hard, because is my kids is not small, but I am Iranian mother, and too much complain about everything, and I want to change, and I don't want to complain, but I cannot. But now is better than before, but sometimes no, it's not good. You should be do this, and you should. But my children saying, no, you tired. You should be rest. You should not need to this one. But now is better than my kids help me also, and we can't manage something. Is become balanced, but it's not easy. It's very hard to manage everything.
Thank you all so much for sharing so candidly and beautifully about all three of you. We're going to now go into some questions that people submitted beforehand, and also people have been asking in the chat. Everyone loves hearing from you all. And so if I may ask, how did you get the support to get your business going? This can be financial, physical, emotional, but I know some people are specifically wondering about financial, because I think we have some people wondering how to start their own ventures. So if anyone wants to speak to that, we'd love to hear.
So for me, I would say that I self-funded all of this. So I had a small bit of savings, and I was able to basically be very creative. And so certain things like licensing, which can be very expensive if you use an attorney. I did not use an attorney. I just did a lot of research online. I asked a lot of questions to people that were willing to help me. I ended up just using like an hourly consultant to review it. So I kind of had to make do with the funds that I have, which was not a lot at all. And things like finding a graphic designer online who I just found her on Instagram, and she was very young. And so and very new. So we were able to work together to come up with designs. So just little ways I was able to get it together without having to spend a lot of money, because of course I can spend thousands and thousands of dollars on design, but I was able to just kind of be scrappy about it and hustle my way through everything. And that's how I did it. So I think there are definitely ways to be able to start your own business, especially when you don't have an investment or anything like that. That's what I did. And something like alcohol and a beverage business can be very expensive, and I knew that. So I really just tried to find ways to save money and be able to do this on my own. And so still to this point, I've had no investors or anything like that. Now at this point, a lot of my orders, kind of what Hedieh said, is like, now a lot of the sales I'm making are going to fund the next production round. And so it's kind of building from there. but the initial kind of investment was maybe $1,000 to get started, which I was able to pull together.
Yeah, it's kind of the same for me. Also, I didn't invest a lot of money on that. I have a little bit, I can say I started with $200, and it was like, basically for prints and the quality, and little by little, after I sell, I could order more. And it wasn't like I invest huge, money on it. And I didn't have it. I didn't find an investor. I searched for it. I couldn't find it though. But yeah, and I thought if I want to wait more, it takes more time. On the design part, I was like, because my background come from design, I could handle that part. And I think kind of helped me. The social media helped me a lot. And then when the people order more cards, I can print more cards, and it just add up. And still I'm doing the same thing. I didn't get to the profit yet, I can tell that. So it's a long way to go, but I think little by little add up. I think the main things is I learned in this business, I should be very patient about it. It's not something I think like after, a year, I'm gonna be huge or I'm gonna be all over. No, it's just, I think about their own business, you have to be very patient about it and grow with it. Yeah.
And one thing I want to add to that also is that social media is a really important tool and resource. And I didn't realize that before, and I certainly realize it now. And so I use that a lot to get the word out. I think I've spent maybe $100 at the most on like marketing or anything online or ads and things like that. I've just been really just on the phone trying to message people, say, hey, like this is what I have to offer. I mean, I think it can be a really important resource in trying to get your product out or what you're trying to do, bring awareness. So I think people should definitely take advantage of Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is, to get the word out. And you can do it for virtually little to no money.
And if I want to tell about myself, yes, I start with $200 and just this enough for my LLC. And I think, what can I do? And this Anna is very helped me to make design for me all the label, and she designed my label. And when I want to take it some loan to buy all the ingredients, and Anna tell me, no, Nasrin, it's not good time. And after that, she tell me, Nasrin, you should find some invest to help you for find some place, kitchen. And I said, no, if you have some invest or partner, your hand is not that much open. I want to do everything I want from my heart. When you want to doing like that, when you have a partner, you should be here about everything. Maybe he or she want to make it more money, but for me it's important money, but not that much important to make people happy. That is more important to me. It's hard, but no, I don't use it any invest and no loan, nothing. Just I keep going and I try my best like that. But I have a lot of people who support me for everything. A lot of people must send message to me. A lot of Iranian people support me. A lot of American people support me. That is a lot of important more than money is very important.
Thank you so much. Love seeing the grit that you all have, making it work with, humble starts and being resourceful. I have a question that was given to us through the RSVP form. This one's specific to, I believe, Zahra and Nasrin. The question is, do you have any advice on how to break into the food industry, but specifically this person is interested in doing food production or manufacturing, and if you have any additional knowledge on also like patents, they'd love to know that. But I think more specifically, more generally, how to break into the food industry. If you could just answer that would be awesome. Food and beverage, both.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, I guess I would say just start small. You don't have to have your own kitchen or production facility or anything like that. I mean, you can go and you can rent a commercial kitchen, I think, for probably an hourly rate, and you can bake or cook or do whatever you need to do, and then you can go out and sample people. I mean, I think beverage is a bit different, but I assume that that's kind of an easy and you know, a way to break into it where you don't have to spend a lot of money either. So that would be my suggestion. I mean, if you're, I know Nasrin, she bakes amazing sheetini and she wraps it up, and there are different coffee shops that sell her product and things like that. So I think just you got to just maybe go to your local coffee shop and say, hey, I have this, would you like to try it? Maybe you want to sell a little bit at your shop. I think just starting very small is probably the way to go. Similar to what I did, which was just renting out tank space at an existing brewery versus trying to, you know, go large scale. And so I was able to start with a very small production size and then increase it as I needed to.
Yes, I agree with Zahra Jun. If you spend a lot of money for your business or your job, you you cannot say it's okay. You worried about money, you worried about your time. If it don't make it money. Yes, when I start for sell my product is like O Cafe, one coffee shop in Manhattan. He start for 12 cookie, 12 colompe. I sent for them. Now is very hard. You deliver 12 colompe to the Manhattan, but I did 1 year. I did. Now they order every week, sometimes 10 days, 48 each colompe. That means some 200 colompe they order. Need to take a time if you want to doing everything great. I would love to have a kitchen. I would love to have everything, but I don't want to make too much headache for myself, because after that I don't have energy for next step. Is better than if you think have a customers, you want to cooking, you don't have a space, you can rent some kitchen. And I know a lot of people want to help each other. Like me, I is O Cafe introduced me to one Italian restaurant in Brooklyn, in Pan restaurant, and they give me free kitchen. I have still I have a storage there, and I did pop-up brunch, pop-up dinner, party there, and they don't charge any money. Just when they don't want kitchen morning, they give me kitchen, or 2 days they close and they give me kitchen. You can find like that, and I think it's more better than you step by step keep going.
Yeah, and just to, you know, kind of say what Chef Nasrin said, that if you just get into one place, oftentimes the people in the food industry and beverage industry also, they know each other. And so for me, you know, I got into a really amazing restaurant, and then that beverage director told his few buddies, and then I got into those restaurants, and it just kind of spread like that. So you don't have to feel like you need to get into a million places, just get into one or two and take it from there, because they the word does spread, and then they refer you to other places and recommend you. And I think it can really grow like that.
Chef Nasrin, you have a question in the Q&A about whether you are catering to outside of New York City, or do you have plans to expand?
You can explain. I don't understand exactly, Sarah.
بیرون از شهر غذا میبرید یا در آینده فکر میکنید بیرون شهر برید؟
I don't know about future, but from now is very challenge time for delivery, because I don't have a kitchen. Sometimes like Thanksgiving, I talking with the Pan restaurant, and I said I have a pop-up. You can give me the kitchen. They said yes, maybe we close and we can give you kitchen. After that, they plan for the party, and I don't have a kitchen. And I take a lot of order, like 80 people, 80 people, and I cook 2 days non-stop at home. It make me crazy. you know, I have a lot of stress, but I don't want, I would love to, people send message to me and ask me about the New Jersey, about the Great Neck, but it's very hard to find someone to deliver. People don't want to. Now we offer to people for delivery for $30, and I give $10 more to delivery guys to deliver food, but they said no, it's not enough. I know it's gas expensive, and some place have a tool and something. I would love to do that. I would love to do that if in the future impossible, sure.
Ali, thanks so much, Chef Nasrin. To round out, being mindful of time, I want to end on an uplifting note and do have all three of you speak to one last question. What would you say is the key to your success? You've spoken about a community of Iranian women that supports you. You've spoken about perseverance and taking that chance. But what would you say is your key to success as an entrepreneur based on your individual experience in Tabatabaei?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Hedieh.
Go ahead, Zahra.
Thank you. For me, I think the most important thing has been the support from the community, especially the women who would share to their story, tell all their friends about us, really help to get the word out. And I get so many messages of words of encouragement too that kind of keep me going. So I think really it is support from the community. And then it was a lot of Iranian people at first, and then it's kind of expanded outside of their circle and they've told their friends, and now it's gotten so much bigger. So for me, it was definitely the support that I had from everybody and their willingness to help me when I asked early on. And I would say, when I started out with like one follower and I'm like, hey, can you please just share this picture? And they'd be like, sure, you know, you just have to kind of ask, and they'd be willing to do it. So I think I know that is definitely what has helped me be able to further this business and to be able to sell the beer, is just the pure support and joy that people get from the business and sharing it. And I think, you know, for sure, that's the most important thing for me.
Yeah, I just want to say the same things, the same as Zahra. That was the main important things for me. Supporting the community was fantastic. They shared, you know, alone I couldn't do anything. And just don't be shy. I think asking is very important. The beginning, I was very shy about asking somebody, hey, can you follow me? Or can you check my you know, the Facebook or Instagram? Or but after a while, I started sending the message one by one. Even in LinkedIn, I connect to people. I say, hey, my name is Hedieh. I'm doing this. Can you please check my page? A lot of people don't respond, but a lot of good and kind people respond. And if don't get disappointed. If you send like, you know, 50 messages, just 10 of them, they respond to you. That's positive. Just see that part, you know, don't get discouraged. You think it's bad or you cannot continue, just keep going. And another thing I think is be patient. I think being patient is very important and having their own business.
Yes, for me also the same. A lot of love. I before I told you, when I start and I too much scared about everything, especially my language, and I cannot explain to people what I want to do. But a lot of people help me. A lot of people support me. But I have a customers from the Chicago. They order here from brother, from the children, and I have a customers from the LA, a lot of place. And I sometimes when I think about that, they are Iranian. That we know is LA have a lot of Persian store, have a lot of catering restaurant, but when they order to me sweet, they order to me torshi, and I have the one customers, they told me, Nasrin, what can I do for you? She is Iranian, and I said, just if you love my food, please recommend it to your friend and everything. And still more than 3 months, she every week order to me. Nasrin, I want you. She ordered to me a lot of torshi and jam and everything, and she take it to the London, and this is all, make you so happy. You never know is what happened in the future, but from now is you give you more energy, more love. You're not alone. A lot of people around you. That's very important. It's very important.
Well, thank you all for joining. I think this is just about time. If there are any final comments, please share with us. Otherwise, we'll be concluding today's session.
Thank you so much for having me. That's wonderful to be here and chatting with you guys and seeing you that virtually. It's amazing. I sincerely, I really appreciate everyone to join. That's fantastic. Thanks to NIAC, and please share in your social media and share Salam forever with your friends and family. All the things and joy we are doing is for you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I want to say the same thing. Thank you for having me here tonight. I really enjoyed the conversation. And for anyone who's asking where they can get the beer, I distribute in New York City and I distribute in DC. So that's where you can find it. If you go to our website, there's a beer finder. You can put in your zip code and it shows all the closest retailers. That's backhomebeer.com. And social media is the same, Back Home Beer on Instagram and Twitter. So thank you for having me and for initiating this conversation.
And thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Zahra. When you tell me we want to talking with you and you invite me for this event, I a little bit scared because it's always hard for me explaining everything in my heart, but it's very good point because I have a two lovely lady, and with you, Zahra, is Zahra and Hedieh always help me and always like my family. And thank you so much for all the people join us at night, and thank you for all your support. I hope every time your moments full of the love and everything is good for you guys.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you to our panelists and my fellow New Yorkers for being here. If you guys want to know more about our future events, please join our chapter. I'm going to be honest with you, we're trying to make a soccer team and have a couple of other, events for techies, entrepreneurs, women in business. So we would love to have you and your feedback. And so with this, I'm just going to conclude the event, and thank you all for joining. Have a great rest of the evening.